Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scripting Your Best Life Now, and welcome to Spiritual Adventurers Club. My name is Karen Barno. I'm the host of this club. I am the founder of the Blue Rose Method. I started and developed in a not-for-profit that has grown up into a big, well-known not-for-profit, Arizona Alpha. So now that I'm done building credibility, they say to do that at the beginning. I don't know. I just find it weird. I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to talk about scripting your best life. Just to give you some background, back in October, actually October 19th, 2022, I was coming home from a wedding shower and there was a huge storm. And if you follow me, I know you've heard this storm, but you have to listen to the story again. There was a huge storm, and I live in Arizona, so you can watch the storms come over the desert. It's actually beautiful to watch it because you can see it coming. I mean, it's just amazing. So I mean, I could see it coming. It hit. I pulled out to the side of the road with probably 100 other cars because it was a big, huge storm. And because of how the desert's set up, we don't necessarily have drainage like most. I'm from the east, so like the east has drainage. For us, the water runs off into the desert and it goes away and all's good. So we sat to the side of the road, but I just kind of sat there. I didn't have my phone on. I just sat there, and I thought, you know what? I could see the sun on the east in the east side. So I knew eventually someone was going to come here. And I thought when the sun gets here, I'll wait 10 minutes and go because I knew there'd still be, the roads would still be really wet and the trucks are still going, 100 miles an hour. So I just sat there. When I pulled back onto the road, I felt completely different. I felt at peace. I still to this day can't explain what it was. So shortly thereafter, um, I was in my office. I was putting up Christmas decorations. I hit my head. I have a concussion now. So now I have a concussion that took until about January to heal up. And then during all this, I decided to get on a plane and fly by myself to visit with a amazing coach in Park City to kind of talk about my business. She's the type of woman that when you get around, it's not what she says, although what she says is brilliant, but her aura. You get around certain people and you pick up on their aura. And it's like their aura is slowly kind of moving you, shifting you, helping you heal while they coach. And so when I left there, I still felt a little change. So January 1st hits, I decide after a lifelong adventure with drinking, probably since I was about 5 years old, I was given my first drink. I decided I'm going to stop drinking for a month. I'm going to do dry January. And I was a nervous wreck because I could remember the last time I went a week without a drink, much less a month. Before I knew it, it was mid-February, and now a year later, here we are wrapping up December 2023. I don't drink. I just stopped. And when you stop drinking, you have so much clarity because the veil of all the alcohols and and the reason you drink. People drink for a reason. When I drank, I could puff myself up and I could be this amazing woman. And then when I'd sober up, of course, in my mind, I wasn't that amazing woman. So I really had to do the inner work. And I've spent this past year trying to rebuild myself because whenever you start a business or a anything, people love to tell you you're wrong, you're not good enough, you're not worthy. And when I started Arizona Alpha a long time ago, it was like the first couple of years, it was like a dog pile where everybody piled on me. It was like, you're not smart enough to do this, you're not good enough to do this. And because my inner self, my inner ego was so fragile with trauma that it was a trigger after trigger after trigger that for years I've hid. And people are like, well, how can you hide? You're a CEO. I would get to a certain point, and people that are watching this that know me, they're like, oh my God, you're right. I'd get to a certain point and I would stop. That was it. The bank account would get to a certain point and I would stop. I'd get asked to go, speak here, speak there, and I would stop because I felt I wasn't worthy, and I knew eventually they're going to figure this out. Eventually they're going to be like, no, she's not smart enough. So when I decided to quit drinking, I also decided in February to start scripting my life. I had learned about how you write down about who you want to be when, down the road and you become that person. But I took it to heart this time. I had done it for years, but of course I put it in a drawer. So the concept of scripting your future self is to sit down and write down who you want to be a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years. Who do you want to be in the future that you need to start becoming now? That's the key. Who do you want to be here that you can start becoming down the road? So I want to kind of talk to you, kind of explain that to you, talk you through it, and kind of figure out, what's going on. I decided to script my life, and I've done this exercise before, but for some reason this time it really held on. So I sat down and I got out the Blue Rose Wheel of Balance. It's the 7 things, personally, wealth, parent health, all of it. I went through every one of them and said, okay, who do I want to be in 3 years? But then I thought, wait, I really need to shift my life. I'm not happy, so I really need to shift my life. So I'm like, who can I be in 1 year? When we get to December 31st, 2023, this is who I want to be. And I scripted out, how would I show up? How would I look? How would I act? You have to be proactive. And every time you write something down, you're going to get your mind saying, well, no, you probably can't do that. No, you probably can't make that kind of money in your business. No, oh, you're going to apply for that job. Oh, that's probably not. You got to get rid of all that, because it's you hear act as if. The Secret used to talk about that. And I got to admit, I love The Secret. The Secret used to talk about acting as if. Who do you have to become? And you have to become that person now. So it is a stretch. It is a stretch if you're not that person. And obviously, if you want to become that person, you're not that person. It's a stretch to become that person. But that's the beauty of it. That's the amazing thing about scripting your life. And there's a lot of science behind this. They talk about the self-fulfilling prophecies. What you think about, you bring about. And it's true. When you visualize something long enough and you truly believe in your heart you're that person, not you can be that person. That's what a lot of people do. That's what they kind of go south on scripting your life. It's like, I want to be that person. This is a person I want to become. When you're doing your scripting, yes, this is a person I want to become. This is the Karen I want to be in December 2023. And I was not that Karen in February 2023, not even close. And again, everybody does it different. 12 months, I was in a hurry. I was in a hurry because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was sick and tired of being overweight. I was sick and tired of drinking. I was sick and tired of just not feeling worthy, of just not measuring up to my standards. It got to the point I didn't care what anybody else said. I cared about what I was telling myself. And I wasn't telling myself nice things. I was being mean. I was a meanie to me. I was bullying myself. So I didn't want to be that person anymore. And I talked to a lot of people before I did this. When I was in Park City, I talked to Joy about it. What does she think about scripting? I talked to, friends that had said, over the past year that how they changed their lives. I had a friend who lost about 80 pounds, was like, how did you do it? And she talked about scripting and how she just saw herself as somebody that worked out, somebody that exercised, somebody that ate healthy, somebody that made good choices when they went out to dinner. Because a lot of people in my business travel, so they're in hotels, so they have to eat at restaurants. And she's like, I had to commit that when I went to the restaurant, I could ask them, hey, instead of fried chicken, can you, broil it, or can you bake the chicken? She goes, I had to learn how to take charge of my voice. And that's one of the key things about scripting. You've got to take charge of your voice. You have to take charge of you. And if you're not used to that, and a lot of women that have trauma in their past, they're not used to that, not at all. Or they are to a point, and then they back off because there's always waiting for that next shoe to fall. You're always waiting for, these good things happen, something bad's got to happen. But when you script yourself, when you start scripting your life, you remove that from the equation. That's part of the inner work, is realizing your triggers. And if you need any help, I have a book out. It's on Amazon, and it's called Shadow Work Journal and Prompts for Women Leaders. It has, about 20 pages talking about what a shadow is, where shadows came from, but then it has about 100 pages of journal prompts. I'm telling you, I did this book myself. That's why I created it. I worked on it myself, and it really helped a lot, because once you understand your triggers, once I understood, it was sometimes with some things, it would just be how somebody would look at me, and it would put me on high alert. It'd be like, uh-oh, what did I do wrong? And I would shift who I am. So go through, like I said, it's on Amazon. I think it's $11.11, because 1111, as you all know, is a magical number. So first thing you want to do when you start scripting is, what are your goals? And you don't have to do this, you don't have to set a goal of a year from now. You can set the goal for 2, 3, 4 years. It's whatever you want. But whatever you pick here, you've got to be here. So I always tell people, I have a client who was like, well, I'm going to pick 4 years from now, and by that time I'll get to be that person. I'm like, you're kind of missing the point here. The point is, you've got to be that person now. So it doesn't matter where you pick it, you've got to start being that person. You've got to build the belief system to be that person. You've got to have the values of that person. You've got to dress like that person. And I hope you guys like my Blue Rose confidence. Down here it says, find your Blue Rose. I'll be putting these on Amazon pretty soon as well. But you have to believe in your heart that you're going to be that person. And that's where the inner work comes. And that's why I developed the Blue Rose method. It's the 7 steps to take you through to change your life. And I'll start talking about that more and more. This is kind of like the video to start leading me on a different path. I think if you follow me for a long time, I've kind of been, all over. But at the end of the day, I'm all about shadow work, women transforming their selves. I'm rewriting my book. You can't see it because it's behind my Charlie Brown Christmas tree. It's back behind that. And I don't know what's going on there in my video, but that was cool. I don't know what somebody just did, but thank you. That was awesome. So I've got my Charlie Brown Christmas tree behind me, but I'm working on Blue Rose Bookstore, where Annie, if you read it before and it's being revised, Annie went to the island to heal, and I didn't say anything about the island. She comes back healed. So the Blue Rose method is how she heals herself. So we'll talk about that as well. So anyway, set your goals. And you all say the SMART formula. What is it? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. I don't really set my goals like that. I set my goals by, this is who I want to be. I set a goal last year. I wanted to eliminate, I had already lost 80, 90 pounds, and I wanted to eliminate the last 15 to 20. But I set that goal into the future, because when you quit drinking and you make these changes in your life, you have to, don't try to do everything at one time. And I'm sorry, I just got distracted. I'm in an Amazon delivery coming, so you're going to hear my dog get light up like the 4th of July here pretty soon. But you can't do everything at once. And that's what so many people do when they go to change. That's what I used to do. Say, I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to lose 100 pounds. I'm going to start my business. And I would have a list and pick one thing. Just pick one thing. Give yourself a break. Just be nice to yourself. Pick one thing. Just what one thing do you want to do in the next couple months? If you're sitting there thinking, well, I'd like to lose weight, okay, perfect. I'd like to get my business rolling, perfect. I'd like to get a good relationship going, perfect. Just pick one. Because when you pick more than one, you're just sabotaging yourself. You're just going to sit here in May, June, July and say, oh man, I knew this wouldn't work. I knew that Karen Barna was nuts, that this wouldn't work. Pick one thing. And who do you have to become to do that one thing? If you pick weight loss, who do you have to become now to be that person? And again, like I said earlier, you have to eat healthy. You have to make a lot of different decisions. If you're doing inner work, I was the queen of negative self-talk. I was mean to myself. So how do I learn how to talk to myself? And how do I get my mind going? And how do I heal the shadows that was creating this need to keep myself in pain? Because that's what it is. If you have negative self-talk, you're creating this need to keep yourself trapped in this negative environment that you existed in over here. And you have to learn how to break out. And that's why, again, you do the scripting. So pick your goals. We're going to pick the goal that you want to lose. You want to eliminate 20 pounds by next year. Then who do you have to become to do that? Or let's pick one, because I've gone over that. Let's pick another one. Let's see. What do we want to pick? You want to start your own business. Better yet, you're going to write a book. That's because I'm writing a book here. You decide you want to write a book. And so many of you, I think everybody has one book in them. Some have 2 or 3 or 4. Everybody has one book. So let's say you decide you're going to want to write a book. You're not going to say, well, who do I have to be to write a book? You're not going to say, who do I have to be to publish a book? Who do you have to be a best-selling New York Times author? That's who you want to be. Sometimes we pick a lower one. Say you want to start a business. You've decided that you want to coach women on how to make baby blankets. And I know you've heard me tell the story about my friend who makes very high-end baby blankets. And when she told me years ago she was going to make high-end baby blankets, I laughed. I'm like, who would pay a lot of money for a baby blanket? Obviously, a lot of women. So back then, she would have said to herself, I'm going to make high-end baby blankets and I'm going to sell 5,000. It was like, no, 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 no. You're going to be known across the world as the queen of baby blankets, of high-end baby blankets. And I'm scaling this back a little bit for that conversation. So you've got to pick your end game, and you've got to pick it a stretch. To say that you're going to start your business and you want to make 20,000 this year, and you already kind of have a business that you made 5,000 last year with no effort, that's not a stretch goal. You want to pick something that lights you up. You want to pick something that every morning you get up and say, who do I have to become? Who do I, Karen Barno, have to become to be a New York Times best-selling author? That's it. Each day, how do I show up? What am I doing? Am I writing? Am I networking? What am I doing? Because a part of that is also, like I said, it's talking about the Blue Rose method. That's key to the book. It's like when I wrote the shadow book. The key to the book was the shadow prompts. So how do I do that? How do I write that? How do I show up? How do I sell? How do I market? It's all of that to become your best self. It's who do you have to be to show up there? So you sit down, you get your script out, you decide, okay, you want to be a New York Times best-selling author. Who do I have to be? First of all, start with writing the book, because you kind of need the book to do that. Am I going to write every day? Am I going to write an hour a day? How am I going to write the book? Am I going to, market the book ahead of time? Am I going to talk to people about the book? In my case, I have a couple of friends that are probably so sick of the book that when they see me coming, they're probably like, oh, dear Lord. Because whenever I go out to lunch with Jane and Annie, I make them sit and listen to about the Blue Rose bookstore. What do you guys think about this? And do you think this is believable? And she's doing this. Do you think that's possible? They're probably like, my gosh, please get this book done. But who do you have to become to be that person? And then the whole time you're doing it, you've got to be positive. So I wish I could see comments on here, and maybe I can. I'm on my phone, and this is the first time I've done a Facebook Live in a group in 100 years, so I'm not sure if I can see comments for somebody to throw something my way that they want me to talk about. But so you pick your script. I've decided who I have to be. Who do I have to be by next year, December 2024, as a New York Times bestseller? Now, I'm giving myself some grace and saying, okay, if I can be an Amazon bestseller by midsummer, and then somebody picks up my book, then I don't know if I'll be able to accomplish a New York Times bestseller by the end of the year. It may take a year and a half, 2 years, but who do I have to become to be that person? Because I already know that's my goal. So who do I have to become? And again, how am I going to dress? How am I going to act? Now, as you guys know, I run Parallel Hill because I went that, but I also still run an association, Arizona Alpha. So I have to sit down as well and say, okay, now when I have my Arizona Alpha hat on, who do I have to become? When I go down to the legislature to testify on Monday, who do I have to become? How am I going to show up? How am I going to testify? How am I going to interact with all the other lobbyists? Because this is a different Karen that was here last session, that was here that from the session before and the session before. This Karen's much different. Now, this Karen's evolved a lot from here. So how do I show up? And I paint that picture. We're having an event coming up. How do I show up at the event? How do I want to be introduced? How do I want my backstory? When I'm in my office by myself, how do I show up? That's important too. I've had people say, well, I show up really good here, but when I go to my office, I'm kind of, in raggedy clothes and that. That's great. If that works for you, that's great. That doesn't work for me. I had to start dressing up every day at the office. Now, most of my team is remote, so nobody sees me except the water guy when he brings the water in and the Amazon guy when he's delivering something. But I had to be my best self. I had to start dressing up. And my husband's like, my gosh, you're dressed up. Look at the dry cleaning bill. I'm like, yeah, I know. But that's who I have to be. I have to show up as that person. I have to show up dressed up in case you never know who's going to come through that door. That's the woman I want to become. I want to become somebody that's featured in the newspaper about, founding Arizona Alpha and getting it started and building it and everything I've seen over the past 27 years. Who do I have to be to become that? And I know this is kind of all over, but if you follow me, you know that's how I am. Then what habits and routines do I need? in Arizona Alpha and the book, they kind of still run parallel. They still kind of go together because I still have to show up in both. So it's not like I'm trying to be a CEO of a company over here and, I don't know, be a lawn maintenance over here, because then I'm going to kind of be two different people, because over here I'm not going to be dressed up as much. But I try to keep them combined. So what are my daily habits? I get up every day at 5:30. I exercise for an hour. I get my steps in for an hour. I exercise because, again, I want to eat healthy and I want to eliminate weight. I get up, I do my things. I sit down for 15, 20 minutes and I journal. I do some shadow prompts. I mean, I do the book over and over and over again, because as you heal one shadow, another one always pops up. It's like a, whack-a-mole, trying to get them all. And then I get dressed, I get changed, and I head off to work. And then I have a setup, routine when I get to the office when I first get there. What do I do to get myself centered as that person in the office? Because I'm no longer working on the book. Now I'm working on Arizona Alpha. So have your routines, have your scripting all written down. Make sure you're keeping it going. Now, obstacles, your mind. Obstacles are your self-talk. Obstacles are, I don't want to get out of the bed because it's really cold. Obstacles are, you know what? I am really stuck on this part of the book and I'm just done. I'm done. I'm tired of it. Obstacles are, it doesn't matter what I do in this one area, I can't push it through. With Arizona Alpha, I'm trying to work on this one legislation. I just can't push it through. I can't get it through. So just give up. What are the obstacles? What are people going to say to you? Because you're going to lose friends. When you up level, you're going to lose friends. And I've lost my share over the years. And sometimes they say not nice things. Sometimes they just kind of move on. But, what do they say? New level, new devil. That's true. You're going to lose friends, because the friends you had were here. If you want to be here, then you need friends that get you here. If these are the friends you had when you're making $20,000 a year, when you're making $50,000 a year, you're going to need new friends. When you're making $100,000 and $300,000 and $500,000, each time you're going to have to up level, because the friends you're going to have at $500,000 are not even close to the friends you're going to have at $50,000, because they think differently. They view the world differently. They're expansive thinkers. They see things so differently. And if you follow me over on TikTok, I talk about my 3 millionaires and a billionaire friend and everything they've taught me over the years, because their thinking is so expansive. And I can't tell you how many times they looked at me and said, Karen, quit thinking so small. Quit thinking like a $50,000 a year person. Think like a millionaire. Or as my billionaire friend says, think like a billionaire. And of course, the 3 millionaires look at her like, we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm just trying to get to the million. And those guys are trying to get to the billion. And it's so fun watching them interact, watching them go back and forth. Even like, I just got this new private plane. Well, this is mine. Well, I got this. It's a different world. And if you want to be in that world, and maybe this doesn't light you up, whatever world you want to be in, you're probably going to have to leave some people behind. And you're going to have the right spouse. And my husband's amazing. He just goes with me. He's like, I don't know what you're up to now, but okay, it's fine. Where do we need to go? Okay, I'm in. He's the perfect guy, because he's just like, you do you. I'll support you. So you have to have the right spouse. You have to have all the right friends around you. And it's okay if you have to cut some friends loose. It's sad. It hurts. And it's okay when friends kind of say mean things about you, because obviously they're not their friends anymore. You just kind of have to move on. I mean, I used to internalize it. It used to make me feel so bad when people would say bad things about me. And when you're in a position of authority, a lot of people talk about you. But, a couple years ago, I went through a big change at the office. Somebody that had been with us for a long time had left. And when she left, she couldn't say enough horrible things about me. And people out there believe some of it. And I realized those weren't my friends. Because if they were friends, they would have known that really wasn't who I was. But it tore at me. So when I started doing who do I want to be, I had to be a person with a much thicker skin, a person that doesn't get bothered when people talk smack about me. And although that's still a work in progress, I've gotten much better, because this person, you talk to my 3 millionaires and a billionaire, and they'll tell you, oh, you got to just let it go. One of them has been featured on the front page of a major newspaper. And she's like, what can you do? People talk. Who knows? So Understand there's going to be obstacles. There's going to be self-doubt. You're going to lose your motivation. There's going to be a whole lot of stuff. You've got to just know what your goal is. And that's the key of setting a good goal that motivates you. So when you're sitting there and you're like, you know what? I don't want to get up this morning and write. I'm just tired of it. I'm just tired of writing the book over and over and over, because when you're writing a book and you've written it and you're revising it, that all of a sudden now you're changing commas and changing what people have on. I don't want to do that anymore. I tell myself, now, is this what a New York Times bestselling author would do? Is this what my 3 millionaires and a billionaire would do? Especially one of them. I mean, she's in a family business. She's a billionaire. She's in a family business, and when they first started a family business, it was not easy. And she had to get up really early and do some stuff every day before school. And she's like, it got me to the goal, got me to the end goal, but there was a lot of negative self-talk. So just prepared and have a good inner circle. Have 1 or 2 friends. I mean, I have got those guys, but I have a couple other friends that I can go to all the time. And I can go to Annie and Jane all the time and say, hey, you guys, I'm really kind of feeling a little bit down. This is really bothering me, or this. And, hey, don't worry about it. Let's go golf. Let's go do this. I have friends that be like, hey, you need to get out and play golf. Once you play golf and that little golf ball, you picture being a lot of different people, you'll feel so much better, which is true. So have a good inner circle around you. And just maintain your momentum. Just have a goal you believe in and maintain your momentum. And if you follow these steps to scripting, you'll be a different person. You will embody that person you want to become. So sit down and decide, who do you want to be? What do you want? What do you really, really want in your life? I don't care if you're watching this and you're 16. I don't care if you're watching this and you're 80. Lois Hay started Hay House, I think, when she was in her 60s. Colonel Sanders started the chicken place, KFC, when he was in his 70s. There's so much going on with women over 50, 60. It's amazing to watch all the greatness women are doing. So don't sit there and say, well, I'm probably too old to do this. You're not too old. The only time you're going to be too old is when you're gone. And even then, you're not too old. Now you get to go on to your next life, which is really cool. I'll talk about that another time. So who do you want to be? Become that person. Have a great support group. Learn to control your mindset. Have a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset means nothing changes. A growth mindset means you're open for all changes. And just go forward. If you have any questions, let me know. Put it in this group, because this group will slowly morph over more talking about the book, more talking about the Blue Rose Method. The name will not change. I absolutely love Spiritual Adventurers Club, and I will talk a little bit more about spirituality. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, this is it. And I'm going to have to figure out how to get questions, how to see questions on here. And also, I have a few notes here. If you need any worksheets on this, let me know. I can send you out a couple worksheets. If you want to do a follow-up, like a couple weeks now or a couple months now, kind of follow up on this and see how you're doing with your progress, let me know. We can do that as well. And as you all know, I do one-on-one coaching. So if you're interested in one-on-one coaching, reach out to me. Don't go to my website. I need it updated desperately. I just haven't had time to do that. If you want one-on-one coaching, reach out to me. I do 5 weeks. And it's a lot of fun. It can be life-changing. Have a great day, you guys. And here's to you finding your blue rose. Happy holidays, everybody.